Hello, my name is Manuela Rumsey, and I'm a licensed American real estate agent in Vicenza, Italy. As part of my series, Buying a House in Italy 101, I interviewed Victoria. Victoria is an American woman who bought and renovated a property in Italy, all while living abroad. During this interview, we will hear Victoria talk about the lessons that she learned along the way, what she wishes she had known beforehand, and the advice that she would offer anyone who's considering undertaking their own Italian renovation adventure. I think you'll find this interview very worthwhile. Hey everybody, I'm here today with Victoria. Victoria is from the US and she bought a property in the province of Vicenza in 2023, was it?
23.
And very adventurously took on a big project which she's going to tell us about today. She's going to share with us her experiences and lessons learned. So thank you, Victoria, for being here and for doing this interview.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
All right. So first question. With so many places in Italy to choose from, why here? What was it about this place?
So this little town I visited about 10 years ago in 2015, and I have a childhood friend that lives about 10 houses that way. So I came to visit her, and during that visit there was another house for sale on the street, and it was selling for 15,000 euros. And we were just going for a walk, and I jokingly said, "Oh, I could put this house on my credit card. This is a great place to live." It's a quiet little village. It is not bigger than 200 people, and I had a friend here, so I thought that would have been a perfect place to retire at some point.
How many properties did you look at then? Did you go on a property search or did you know right away what happened? Tell us what happened.
I was not looking in other areas because I didn't want to relocate to another country as a single woman on my own and just be in a new village without knowing anyone. So I felt a little bit of security and a little bit of safety in knowing that at least there were some Americans here that knew me, that we've known each other since we were 14 years old. And if something happened to me, that I would have, a lifeline here. So I messaged her in December of 2020 and I said, "Allie, is that house still for sale?" There's a house for sale in the piazza. It's a little bit more ready for you. Like it's a little bit more move-in ready, she said. And I said, "Oh, okay." So she sent me the link to the listing and I looked at it and I basically came back and said, "Okay, can you tell them that I want that house? I'll buy it."
So what was the property like before you bought it? It wasn't move-in ready then? It needed...
Well, I thought it was quasi move-in ready. It was a 2-bedroom apartment with, this part was a 2-car garage.
The part that we're sitting in right now?
The part that we're in is a two-car garage, which was licensed as a negozio, a business. I don't know what you call it here. Was it?
So it was like a commercial space.
It was a commercial space. That's when the property was built. So I have a picture from 1969 that shows it open and like a market here. So it was 2 bedrooms upstairs, a living room and a bathroom and a kitchen. And the kitchen had the original fireplace. And when I looked at the photos, everything was still, the furnishings were still in the room. The walls were painted originally and there was a full kitchen there, full bathroom, everything was there. So I just had it in my head. Okay, it's not the prettiest place, but it's 2 bedrooms. It's got a operable kitchen and a bathroom. Like, what more do I need, right? My lifestyle at home is I camp a lot. I just kind of had it in my head. At least I have a place that's dry, and it's a good landing point to so many other places, and that's all I really wanted. So when I came in 22, I basically said, I want to see the house. So I made an appointment with then my friend referred me to an architect. I thought the listing photos was what I was going to walk into. So that was
the listing photos were what were they like?
So the listing photos show beds. They showed, rooms.
So were they photographs?
They were photographs. They were photographs of each room, the stairwell and the basement, showing cabinetry and things here.
So not renderings, but actual
photos. Yeah.
And so you were surprised when you saw all of that was gone.
Yes. And I walk in the door, which used to be over there, and I come in the garage and it's completely cleared out. Well, there's just two big pillars here, concrete pillars. It's completely vacant. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, at least that's cleaned up. That's great, right? So then we go upstairs and I'm like, okay, it was completely gutted. And I'm just like, oh, well, that's a little different idea of what I was undertaking. So that was kind of the first big surprise.
Okay.
It happened. It was just
So
one surprise after another.
once you took title,
That was over a year and a half.
about a year and a half. And
Yes.
were you able to purchase the property even though you weren't here physically in Italy to go to the closing? Did you?
So
have
what had
somebody-
happened when I finally told him, yes, I can buy the house. That was 22 still.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came in November and put a deposit down. A very simple arrangement of the owner, my architect, geometra / project manager, I guess. He was everything all in one. And my advocate, he spoke English and Italian, so he's wonderful. And we went into his office and there was a transaction made where I put down 5,000 euros. They saw it transferred to his account. And then that moment, he turned and put it in his pocket and he gave me the key to the house.
Wow.
That's how I acquired the house. And I was like, what? I think I signed a 3-page contract that said, this is my deposit and there's what it costs. And that's how I purchased the house. That was.
But then that was a deposit. So
then I came back in January and they said there were some things that needed to be fixed in terms of how the property is defined with the comune. And it's not all the way it should be. And so there are things that he needs to do. And so when I told him, I'm a partner, me and Alessandro are couple, he's like, okay, then yes, I'll sell you the house. So I sent that message to the architect. I said, does this mean I'm buying the house? Like it's mine? And he's like, yeah, it's your house. I said, okay. I had to come back in January so that they could fix these description issues. And when I came back in January, we had an appointment to go to the attorney. And they basically said at the appointment, we're not signing papers today to close the house because all of the things that needed to happen with the comune didn't finish and there's still more to do. I said, okay, well, what does that mean? I fly out tomorrow back to California. Well, they said, you should stay. You should just stay in Italy and wait. And I said, it's taken me 2.5 years to get to this point. I have no confidence this is going to be done anytime soon. And he's like, well, you can come back. I said, no, I just can't fly back here. I don't have that kind of bank to do that. Well, you could identify a power of attorney. I said to my architect, I said, general project manager, would that be you? And he's like, yes, I'm willing to do that. And I said, okay, let's make him my power of attorney. So instead of signing closing papers, I signed power of attorney documents and made the architect my power of attorney. And so between January of 2023 and April, whatever needed to happen with the cadastre files or
Catasto.
Planning and
And
talking.
the municipio.
Yeah.
Ufficio tecnico.
They had to do all of that work. It got finalized by April. But one of the surprises was that the owner that's back there, who is a brother and has a sister that lives in Milan, because they are co-owners on the parcel in question, which was what is now currently my patio, was attached to their house, even though it's right in front of my driveway. And so that had to be transferred to them, and that had to be done with a financial transaction to sell it to them. So we actually had to arrange a date where I'm in California at 2 a.m. It's 5 p.m. or something here. They had to wait till after the workday to get them both to the office here, somewhere in the region. And we closed via a WhatsApp call with the architect signing for me and me saying, thank you for being there. I'm really happy for buying the house.
Wow.
So yeah.
You got there. All
I got
right.
there.
So from the time that day that you just
April.
described, the closing,
Yes.
how much time elapsed before you could move in? That it was
Yes.
ready for you to actually be able to live in it?
Yes. So in April of 2023, I signed well, prior to that, I had signed a contract with the architect, and he had done a prospectus of what this project looked like and said it was going to be a 6-month job. And when I walked through it in May of 22, it was with his workers as well, the contractors that were actually going to do the work. So they were looking at the plumbing, the electrical, they were looking at all the insulation work that needed to be done, and all the new walls that had to be put up, and the ceiling repair and the roof repair and all of the things that had to be done. And they're like, they were like, this is a fast job, Work started about July of 22 in earnest. The old facade coming down, things starting to get delivered. Insulation, I saw pictures of insulation getting delivered, the wire framing that goes in. And a year later, when I walked onto the property, when I came here last year, July, so that would have been a year later, the walls were up. The blue was painted on the wall. The windows and doors were installed, the floor was in, and some of the plumbing was in. I had no kitchen. There was no bathroom. The bathrooms were not done. And I was told when I was planning my trip at the beginning of 24 that the house would be done by my birthday, which was May. And then I showed up in May, and it was vacant. It was just totally constructions. I had purchased things that were in storage in my now fiance's garage for over a year. So I said, let's just move the things, like this table. This huge table was in his garage, taking up half the space. And I said, okay, we're moving it into the property. The floors are done. Just move my furniture into the property. And he's like, no, Victoria, it's going to get dusty. I said, I don't care. It's old furniture anyway. Just bring it over there. If they see that I'm serious about moving into the property, they might actually start working on it. And so, sure enough, I started moving my furniture. They thought I was insane. And by July, from May to July, I had purchased beds. I had gotten the basics in. The kitchen finally got done early July, and I moved into the property. That's last summer.
Now, so being here in person makes a difference.
It made an absolute difference. And even being here, they would work 1 day a week. They would come, they would leave. I don't want to be critical, but it was kind of a surprise to see the amount of days that were scheduled here, and me just kind of knowing that they told me it would be done by May. Yeah, so that was kind of an interesting learning moment for me.
You mentioned someone who was your architect as well as basically project general contractor.
Yes.
And I assume you were in contact a lot with this person?
Yeah, regular contact. Got the contracts, electronically, got the invoices and things for big projects electronically, all through WhatsApp. Got plans as he was designing plans. He was the designer as well as, the on-site project manager. Got all of those as they were being printed, and so I always had images. I would send photos, I would get them back, I would do Pinterest boards, I would send those to him. He would send me links to URLs and websites for, appliances and just general wood and colors of paint and things like that.
Did you monitor progress? Was it through this, or was it also with the help of your friends who were here locally, could see what was going on?
Yeah, occasionally, because they walk here every day. They walk their dog through the piazza, so they're like, "Oh, your facade is done." I said, "Oh, that's great. That's good." But it was mostly between me and the architect, just communicating directly. I was trying not to be an imposition to, my fiance, my friends who work full time. He has a full-time job, and so I'm just not trying to bring them into the fold. I was trying to really kind of do it on my own and just trust that he was keeping me apprised and on track. And occasionally I would ask for an updated project management plan because it was, this is what needs to be done. These are the timelines. And I'm like, okay, we're passing all the timelines. Where's my new project management? When am I going to be able to move in? I'm like, my son, is supposed to be out there in July for his birthday. Is that going to happen? Oh yeah, it's going to be done by May. I said, okay. Well, of course, my son never came out because the house wasn't done. So,
Were there any other big surprises?
Yes. I think being an American home buyer here, there is an assumption that we have an unlimited bank account. And that's not the case. And so I was very clear, saying I have a very finite budget to do this work. So we got to ratchet it down a bit. So I was very clear from day one, before any work started, that nope, that exceeded my budget. And so that was a constant sort of back and forth, was trying to not be perceived as the rich American with an endless flow of income. I had a finite budget. The second surprise week was finding out that the 22% VAT tax was on top of every estimate that I ever got. And 22%, that's just not sitting around somewhere. So the surprise to me was knowing that that had to be included in the costs of everything, that whatever the budget was, I would assume that they would have minused that out and said, okay, minus the 22% in taxes, this is what I get to spend on the project. Can we do that? And have a conversation point about that? But that never happened. It was like, okay, I'm going to bring it down to what he thinks the job is worth, or what he can do it in, and then add 22% on top of that. Well, that just killed me. It killed me. I think it would kill anybody. That's kind of, a quarter, 25% more than what you thought it was going to be.
And that additional money, the 22%, was that just on materials, or was it also on labor? What was it on?
It appeared to be on everything.
So
whenever I got an invoice, whenever I would get an invoice for labor and materials, then there'd be a column with VAT. And so just most everything, it seemed, as I recall, had that attached to it. And
when you say VAT, you mean value added tax, VAT?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there would also be taxes on invoices. So it was just a lot of money going out for taxes. So I would really have to investigate invoices and, oh, that's a different tax. This is a VAT tax. That goes to me as the contractor. There's a tax for the vendors. And I'm just like, wow, the taxes were insane. That was the biggest surprise to me in this entire experience. It was mind-blowing.
So nobody had prepared you for that, to know
No.
that? No. Okay.
No, not at all.
What, in all of this experience in this process, what went really well? What are the things, if anything, that went smoothly, would you say?
The actual transfer of funds to buy the house and get the key, that was really smooth, really simple. The document that I had to sign, at home, we sign document packets that are huge, right? With title companies and, like packets of information. My document was like 5 pages. And said, you want to buy this house? Here's the address. Here the seller. Yeah, it's your house for this price, and that was it. Yeah.
What about your vision of how things would go, and then the reality of how things went? Would you say they were close together, or was there, if you could describe sort of how well they matched?
So my vision for the property in terms of what the transformation would look like?
Yeah, the transformation, but also kind of the journey. I mean, did you at the outset think this is going to be a snap, or did you think, okay, this is going to be a Spartan race or a marathon, or did you have some sense of what you were probably going to experience? Maybe your friends were telling you.
Yeah, they always said, my friends said, double the time, just double the time. Sometimes it's triple the time. So I was like, okay, a year is almost double. So yeah, sure. So as I went into a year and a half, I'm like, okay, now we're triple the time. Okay, I'm there, right? Now we're into 2 years. I'm like, wow, why isn't my property complete? And so, yeah, that was kind of, I wasn't prepared for that. I mean, my vision though, in terms of like what actually unfolded, like the outcome, like the aesthetic of what got built here, is 100% in line with what I imagined.
So this was your vision, and the final result.
Yes.
Really well matched.
Yeah, but the journey, you brought up the journey. The journey was not anything that I was expecting at all. Like a 2-year process to finish what to me is a very small home. So it just was, it was just too much time. The journey was too long, but the outcome and what I got is 100% in line with my vision, because there was that communication. And when he would say this, I would say, no, I said this. And then he'd go, oh, okay, this, yes, that. And we would be 100% most of the time agreed before he initiated work. So that part was really great. Even though getting there sometimes took days, weeks, and a month or two.
So it sounds like clear lines of communication with the architect were really, really important.
Absolutely, yes. And me having, what was a precursor to that was me having a solid vision of what I wanted and not relying on him to help shape what I wanted. I said, no, I want an island. I want a big area for a big table for 10. I mean, I had a vision of what I wanted, and you know, some things were challenging. Like I said, I wanted these windows to open up 100% so that it would be indoor outdoor space, since I have no property here. And you know, I lived in Hawaii previously, so that
I'm sorry, when you say you have no property, do you mean like garden or yard?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I walk out that door, it's common area. I have a patio now, which is the front of the driveway that we converted to this little deck. And the side of the house belongs to my neighbor there. So it's basically walls in is what I own.
You also talked about the tax being something that,
Yes.
that surprised you. So were you more or less able, or did you have to?
I had to have some tough conversations because I had no choice but to stay in my budget. I didn't have a backup plan. I didn't have anyone else to rely on to help subsidize the cost differential. So when it came time to looking at invoices, I started probably later than I should have, questioning the costs of things. Like redoing a roof and reusing the same tiles. I paid a lot of money for that roof, and I didn't get to have the solar panels that I thought I was going to get, so I had to cut the solar panels out. So I had to make some cuts on some things that I wasn't prepared to do, so I had to stay in budget. There was no option of me going over budget. So then I found stores that were more affordable, you know, that aligned with my budget, which I wish I would have known ahead of time, that there are stores that you can go to, Leroy Merlin and Euronics, and buy things, beautiful things, you know, at a fraction of the price than what I was showed initially. And I was pretty clear what my budget was, and I could not go over it. So I basically on the front end said, no, this is not my budget. I can get nice things at a cheaper price. And so that's when I started going shopping for myself. When I made that trip in January, and I learned that everybody in Italy puts things on sale in January, just like, you know, everybody's turning over inventory, just like we do at home. And that's when I brought my washer, my dryer, my sinks, my stove, my oven, you know, my microwave, because everything was on sale. And I put it in storage in this house. And I saved a lot of money. What would have been 15,000 euros was now 5,000 something euros.
Wow.
So I tried to ask as things were coming in for other bids because I was only getting one cost. This is how much the windows are going to cost. And then I bought the windows as they were described to me. I didn't know the windows were coming from Romania. I didn't know my doors were coming from Romania. And so now that there's problems with some of these things, you know, I'm still a year living in the house, have shutters that don't work because they were from Romania, and there's really no warranty.
What do you think are the major things that in hindsight you wish you'd known sooner or thought about sooner?
Well, you don't know what you don't know. So I wish I had known that the cost of goods and services are not cheap here. They're high. They're very high. And I would have thought that, oh, it's Italy, you know, they don't make that much money. People are not making that much money. The level of living, the standard of living here is so low compared to what we deal with in America. I'm thinking, what am I paying for? I'm not paying for an entire year of wages for a worker, am I? But it turned out that, yeah, I basically was, you know. So average salary is what, 30,000 a year here. My labor costs were huge over the course of a year.
Did you get bids from different vendors, different
No, that was the other thing. So I would get here's the invoice, because every contractor is going to have their partners that they work with. That's true in America as well. You know, they're people that they're comfortable in, their business processes are clear, things get transferred back and forth easily. So everybody has that. At home, you know if you're paying too much for something, right? Because you have the experience, you have the context. Here, I had no context. So,
So
you know,
comparison shopping was a lot harder to do
absolutely,
here.
right?
But would you recommend it if you could?
Well,
if you could do it?
absolutely, absolutely. And at least ask the question of the person that's giving you the bid. Okay, now can you get me 2 other bids so that I can see if these are comparable? Because this seems kind of high to me. So can we get other estimates for fireplaces, for example, which came in at a ridiculous price? And I'm like, okay, so I don't have fireplaces. I'm cutting out my budget. There were things that did not happen in this property because of those kinds of unknowing, you know, not knowing that those things were so expensive or labor was so high.
Is there any, like, did you have any local contacts or friends whom you could ask, hey, what do you think about this bid? Do you think this is a good price?
I did on some things. I did. I mean, again, I didn't want to impose on my friends who have full-time jobs and have their own life here. I was just like not trying to be that burden to them. But like, for example, when I got the cost for the roof, I was like, hey, Greg, does this seem right? Because it seems awful high. Like, I've had roof work done in California, and I'm just like, the area is not that huge. How come this is so expensive? It just seemed like I was paying a lot of money for that roof. And he's like, yeah, no, he works in construction as well, doing, you know, plant-based stuff. But I was just like, just seems high. So I would, but then it just seemed like I don't want to bother them. So I was starting to ask more questions myself. Okay, can I get another estimate? Like, my first bid for a toilet was over $2,000. The first bid came in was like $2,000 something dollars, something ridiculous. And I Google, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Here in America, I can get a combo toilet made in Italy for like $200. So why can't you get me a toilet that's like that's in my budget? And then I went to Leroy Merlin, and you can buy a toilet for 89 euros. You know?
And Leroy Merlin is like
it's like a Home Depot. It's like a big home warehouse.
What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about doing this? Or what would you tell people about choosing between something in turnkey condition and then this more adventurous renovation project?
So this is my first real renovation project that is mine. So this was going to be the first home that I buy that I could make it the way I wanted it. So I am happy that I did that. I really wanted it to look comfortable. I wanted it to be accessible. I wanted it to be welcoming, you know, for friends that wanted to visit. I wanted it to be a balance of modern with some, you know, old world styling. So I wanted a lot of things in this property. I wanted all this openness with, you know, I didn't want property to take care of. So I got a lot of the things that I wanted. So I'm glad they referred me to the property. I'm really glad that I had the resources to renovate it. I don't think I could have afforded a turnkey house. You know, what I paid for this house is not what I could have afforded. I've seen some of the turnkey houses. They're expensive. I've seen some of the listings, and, you know, I didn't have that revenue. I could have been a little bit more knowledgeable on the front end about questions to ask and things to be more assertive about. I just wish I had a little bit more knowledge about doing this work in Italy, like, other than it's going to take longer and it's going to cost triple the amount. I wish I would have known more about insisting on multiple bids, knowing that there's resources out there to buy products directly to have shipped here so that they can install them and then save your VAT off of that, you know, like not have to pay an additional VAT to the contractor because they purchased them, that kind of thing. So I wish I would have known that, because once I learned that, I ordered all my lights from Amazon. I ordered my fans from Amazon. I ordered, you know, lots of things from Amazon and I just said, I ordered it, I put them together, and then I put them on the property like that summer that I showed up. So all my fans were on the floor where they were going to go, and then all I had to do was install them.
When you ordered something online, like the fans that you just talked about, did you order those from Amazon here while you were here, or you ordered them from somewhere from when you were in the US and had them shipped here? Or
so I was here in January last year. I came in the summer, and then during the summer is when I ordered all the lights and things like that. But I opened in, I can transfer, you can switch from America Amazon to Italy Amazon, so Amazon.it. And so now I can just pick different countries. When I come here, I pick IT and it has my address here. And so it's very seamless. And it even seems like it's improved since I was here last year because things come much faster. Like it's just getting a little bit more convenient to use Amazon here
And did
than it
that
had been in the past.
buying from Amazon, that helped you save money instead of having your contractor?
Absolutely.
But that helped you save on the VAT, or that helped you just in general have more control over the cost of things?
It allowed me to have control over the cost because when you see a price in Amazon, that's what you're getting charged. Whether it includes VAT, whatever, it doesn't matter. You shop by what the price is, and it will have a thing includes VAT or whatever. So, but it's not like that, and then they add 20% as a surprise at the end. It's like it's all included. So you can shop and compare and like look at different fans and say, okay, this one's 200, this one's 300. What can I afford? And that worked for me, because then at least I didn't have to use his time to go looking for fans that fit my Pinterest profile. And then he gives me, takes time doing that, finds vendors from his designer, inventory. I just went online and I just purchased a fan that I liked and had it shipped here. I assembled it and then it was ready to go. So I saved my time, labor time, then putting it together. I put all of these together. Like that's what I did as much as I could while I was here. So you definitely are at an advantage being on site during construction, for sure. If you're going to do a major renovation, you can't just outsource it 1,000% because one, the work may not be getting done. Two, you're going to be overcharged. And three, the pace is just going to be, it's just not going to be acceptable. So I guess my advice would be to definitely do your research, be clear on what the outcomes ought to be, and definitely not be afraid to ask questions and insist on maintaining your budget. Like it seems like you're being offensive because saying like, no, I can't afford that, but
it's your money.
It's my money. It's my project. Like I only have so much to go around. So work with me. And if you can't work with me, then I'm going to do the work myself while I'm here.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing this. I really appreciate
you're welcome.
it.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
That concludes my interview with Victoria. I hope that you found it useful and informative. That concludes my interview with Victoria. I hope you found it informative and helpful. If you're interested in buying property in Italy and would like representation, please contact me through my website, www.italyhomebuyer.com. And until the next time from Vicenza, Italy, arrivederci.